What's up guys, today we are going to learn about serializers. So until this video all of our operations were kind of made without even caring about the validations. So as an example, if you want to create a user, we just take the password, okay, we validate the password 1 and password 2, that's fine. And yes, we hash it, but after this is done, we just create the user without validating the username, the email, and the other fields. Another example would be in the NotesApp. We are updating a node, but we are not even verifying if we have a valid data. Okay, we are verifying a bit the length and so on, but let's imagine that we are having bigger and more complex objects, not just a description and the name. And we can't do just if after if after if after if to validate it. We can use serializer. So serializer is just a way that we can update and create objects in our database without us needing to validate them by our hand. So the serializer will know about the fields of the class. It will know that the profile needs to have a user. It will know that the profile needs to have an email. So it will know about all of this stuff, and it's going to make sure that all of the fields are going to be valid before updating or creating the instance. So how we can use them? Right now we are having the NotesApp, and we are having the functions create, update, get by ID, and get all. And we can't even see the node because, as I said in the last video, before giving the node to the, let's say, other page, so to the page, to the front end, to whatever, we can't just return it like that because they need to be serialized. So the serializer is going to help us to convert the objects, the data, into readable code, so in JSON format. Let me just start with the node. So we are going to make a new file and we are going to call it serializers.py. This makes just from some little imports from REST framework .serializers, or just import serializer. And now let's import the class node from, we need to go into the models, import node, and let's create a class named node serializer. This is going to be inherited from serializer.serializer. And this import is going to provide some functionalities like the stuff I told you before, the update stuff, the create, the convert, etc. Now we need to create a class meta, and in the class meta we need to specify the model. So the model is going to be node. So this serializer is going to go to the node class and will know that the name should have a max length of 50. The description shouldn't be blank or null. It's going to need the user, it's going to have expire date, etc. So it will know the requirements of the node. Okay, and when we are going to convert the node, so I told you that the serializer is going to help us convert the node or the data into readable data that we can send to the front end. We're going to tell the fields. So the fields are going to be all. I want to be able to convert all the fields, and that's it. That's the base part. So we can go along of this way, but that's just the base part. Now if we go to the view and we import it, so from serializer import node serializer. Now if we go back to the get node, what we are going to do, we are going to say converted node is going to be equal to node serializer, and into this node serializer we just need to send the node and specify many equal to false because it's going to be just one node. Okay, now finally we can return the converted node.data, and I'm going to show you what we actually did right here. So let me just open it. We need to activate the environment. I think I called it env. Yep. env/scripts/activate. Okay. Now let's go to the backend and run python manage.py run server. Just copy. And now if we open the localhost, so if you remember, you need to open a terminal, go to the project path where you have the environment, say env/scripts/activate, so you're activating your environment. Now sit into the backend and say python manage.py run server. And if you copy this one and we go to the admin, and let's just take a note. We can take Swagger update 2. Let's copy the ID, so we have an ID of 9. Go to this link and Swagger, and now we have the get node which is requesting for the ID. So let's put 9, execute. So we got empty data. So let me just watch what have I done. So we get the node, we get the serializer. This one should be model serializer. And here we go, we got the data. Let me just explain once again what happened. So we are querying the node from the database, and now we can actually return it to the Swagger so we can see it, but we need to convert it. So converted node is going to be equal to the serializer, where we provide the node and we specify that is just one. So if we go to node serializer, this is going to get the instance and is going to understand that we want to serialize everything. This is why you're seeing every field from the node. And it knows the fields of the node because we added in the class method the model node. So it knows about those fields and it knows to serialize them, to convert them into a format that can be readable. Into this format, into JSON format. Okay, now let's do it the same for the get nodes. We can say converted nodes equal to node serializer. We can give the nodes many, this time is going to be true, and just return converted nodes dot data. Sorry. If you go to get nodes, try it out, just hit execute, and it gave us all of the nodes. Okay, now let's use the serializer for the update. So we get the data, we get the node, and we update it manually, but I don't want to do that. I want to do serialized node is going to be equal to node serializer. So the serializer can be used for retrieving data, so convert data into a readable object, and used for the updating. So we just need to say instance is going to be node, so we want to update this node, and the data is going to be this data from the request. And if serialized node dot is valid, if everything is valid, we can just say serialized node dot save and return the success. Else we can get the errors. So errors is going to be equal to serialized node dot errors and return them. And because we got errors, we can say errors going to be equal to errors, and the status is going to be 400 because the bad request, we got bad data. Let's just try to update the node. So if you go to, we should have a put somewhere, so update node, and we need to provide the ID, and let me add a long name. Just hit execute, And we got some errors. User, this field is required. So if we want to update a node, we need to provide the user ID of the node. So we can tell here that we need to add the user. This should be fine, because if you remember, a node is having a user, so we just need to provide its ID. Okay, let me just refresh this one. Go back to update. Give it a shot. But you saw that the serializer gave us the error. So user of the ID 1, try random, some description, and we want to update the node with ID 1. And it was success. And if we go here, nodes, and we added try random, and it got updated. And it's for Robbie user. Okay, but from what you have seen, if I add a really long name and hit execute, I think that I added 50 characters maximum, but just for the sake of watching this one, let me just paste this a few times. Hit execute, and it said insert this field as no more than 50 characters. So you solve the part of the serializer. And you can do the same to create. So in the creation of the node, you can specify the user too, and we can use the serializer. So the same serializer is going to be equal to node serializer. We need to add the data is going to be equal to data. If serializer.is valid, serializer.save, and return success. Else we can just say return or just get errors equal to serializer.errors and return the same, a bad request. And now if we are going to try to create a node, let me just refresh this one, go to create a node, try it out. Let's just give test creation, random description for the user 1, and expire date, datetime. I just want to get a datetime, random datetime. Just give me one random datetime. This one should be good enough. Add it here, execute, and it got success. If you go here, hit, we can see the test creation for the user 1. If I give random ID, so bad ID, hit execute, it said invalid PK, object does not exist, so we don't have user with 20 ID. So from what I can see, it's working pretty nice, and it's amazing. We can do the same for the user, of course. If you go to the user, as we did the last time, we go to the models and say class user serializer, and we need to import from REST framework, import serializer. This is going to be inherited from serializer.model serializer, the class meta. Okay, so the model is going to be user, and we want to serialize all the fields. So fields equal everything. We copy this one and we change everything. Now we are going to be able to retrieve a user. So user serialized equal to user serializer. We need to import it. So from serializer, it credited into the models. New file, serializers.py. Paste it right here, import fast the user. So from REST framework, import serializer, from models, import profile and user. And we can import the user from the models because it's imported right here. Okay. So from serializer, import user serializer. And now if you go fast to the get users, or right here, we can provide so the user and the many equal to false, and just return user serialized the data. Here the same, we can just copy this line, paste it here, but this time is going to be many true. We have users serializer. I just like to have a good conversion of the names. Get users is fine for the update, so we don't need to do this anymore. We can delete everything. So the profile is deleted, the user, everything. So if you want to update the user, we are going to give the email and the username. And I know this time we are not going to create a profile when we are going to create a user. That's going to be for the next video. We are going to learn about signals. So right now we just want to focus on the user. So we have the data, we get the user, and you just need to say serializer equal to user serializer. The instance is going to be this user, and the data is which is going to be applied for the update is going to be the data from the request. If serializer.is valid, you can just save it and return the fact that user got updated. Else, we can get the errors and enter them. Errors, and a status of 400 bad request. Now we want to do this, and for the user create, just delete everything. We are going to make the serializer create the user for us. We're just going to say password 2 is going to be equal to data of actually just get data equal to request dot data. Then we want to get the password 2 equal to data of password 2, because we're getting the password 2 from the data, so from the request body. We want to get the password 1 2 equal data of password, and let's just make some custom validation. If password 1 not equal to password 2, then we just want to say return response errors, passwords must match, and we can give a status of HTTP 400 bad request. Else, if everything is fine, we just say serializer equal to user serializer. Data is going to be the data from the body, request body. If serializer is valid, then we just want to save it and return a response of success. Else, we can get the errors. So else let me just return get errors from the serializer, and we can give it a status of 400. So another thing that I want to do is that the user class is having a lot of fields. So the user is from the Django frame, so just Django. It gave us a user class, and it's having first name, last name. It's having a lot of fields, and I just want to use the username and the email and the password fields. Okay, and now the idea is that when we are going to use the serializer to save the user, firstly we need to hash the password, so we can't just save the password like that. So we just need to say def create, and we can get, so remember, a serializer is getting the data like that. So we get the body from the front end, okay, and we give the data to the serializer to validate it, and this is going to be the data. And we can just say something password equal to validated data of password. So this is how we are getting the data from that, the password from the data. Password hashed is going to be equal to, we just need to hash the password. Let me just copy this import, add it here. I already have it, and just say make password of password. And now validated data of password is going to be equal to this hashed password, and then we save it. Okay, let me just test this one out. If we go here to the, I think that I have to run the server again. I stopped it, yes. Command prompt, activate the environment. But make sure that you are in the correct path. Okay, let me just run the server now. Python manage.py run server. And if we reload it, now let's just try to get all the users. Try this one, execute. And it gave us all the users with the hashed passwords from what you can see. Okay. This is what this function did. We got all the users objects from the database. We offered them to the serializer. The serializer got the username, email, password, converted it into this type of object that you can see here, returned it, and we can return the data. The same for the get user. So let's see if we have a user with an ID. I want to provide the ID too. So if we go to serializer, I can add the ID here too. So ID. And now if we hit again, execute, we get the ID. So let's get user by ID, add ID 1, execute, and it get me the user. Okay, now let's try to create one. So create user, try it out, username, just create one, add an email, the password. I need to provide the same password, execute, and we got success. And if you go here, we go to users, we can see just create one. If I try to execute it again, the serializer is going to give the error, a user with that username already exists. And that's going to be the same with the update as I showed you in the notes. That's all for today. So we learned how we can create, update, and convert objects. Hope you liked it.